Good evening, everyone, and welcome to TC Global's webinar on COVID-19 and its impact on global ed. Before we begin, some quick pointers. We know that this session will raise a lot of questions, so please feel free to ask us any questions that you have through the questions panel on your screen. It will be on the right-hand side corner or the center of your screen, depending on your device. We are going to have several question and answer sessions during today's webinar. So please feel free to put in your questions throughout. We also have some polls for you today. All you need to do is select on your screen the answer that's best suited to you. With that being said, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today, Carmelo, who's a part of our international relationships team. He is joining us from Spain today, and I hand it over to him to introduce himself as well as our other panelists. Over to you, Carmelo.
Thank you very much, Rohini. Welcome everybody to our second edition of COVID and its impact on global ed. My name is Carmelo. I'm part of the international relations team at TC Global, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And it's also a pleasure to introduce you to our panelists today, Bindu, Krishna, Kalpana, Jasprit, and Manisha. Manisha is a capability developer from West Delhi office, and the rest are part of my team in New Delhi. So today they will be taking care of all your questions during the chat. So as I'm speaking, please don't shy away. Write all the doubts you have. They will be able to answer them, and then we will have also Q&A sessions in between sections. So they will also be able to answer your questions. Whatever questions are not answered during this during the Q&As, we will collate them and send them to you alongside the content of this presentation. So before I go ahead, I want to tell you a little bit about TC Global. TC Global is a leading global ed learning and investment services platform with a substantial and diversified base of consumers that includes students, professionals, universities, corporates, and governments. We have been around for over 25 years and are a pioneer company that has led and shaped industry standards in India and in many ways influenced markets globally. We were founded by visionary leaders that had a passion for shaping and positively impacting the life of all the students we interact with. Since inception, we have helped over 2.5 million students, have 700 partners across 4 different continents, and our footprint spreads active and passively over 40 different countries. We are now undergoing a transformation, transitioning to a platform brand, where we are harnessing the power of technology and leveraging the expertise of our people to create a comprehensive and collaborative ecosystem able to deliver a transformative experience to all our consumers and ensure that our world catalyzes the global citizens of tomorrow today. So today we will be covering, first, I want to go into good news from around the world. We've had enough bad news in the past couple of months, so let's go around and see what's happening in the world. And then we will later on we'll move on to global ed updates. So you have exam updates and also alternate English exams. And then we'll move on to section 3, where I will give you a snapshot of each market. But before anything, we want to know more about you. So we'd love to know about you and what are you? Are you considering global ed? Are you an applicant? Are you an offer holder, a parent, or an international student? I'm gonna hand it on to you, Rohini.
Thank you, Carmelo. Again, welcome to our session today, guys. We're getting some very, very nice answers as to who you are, and that's really going to help shape today's conversation with our international relationships team. I'm just going to keep the polls going for another 20 seconds. So for those of you that have not answered, all you need to do is click on the answer that's applicable to you, and it will show up in our list. It's great. I mean, We've even got some parents today, Carmelo. It's actually very exciting to see, them join us on information sessions like this one.
Excellent. Very welcome. I hope I
Okay.
can give.
I'm going to. Sorry, I'm just going to close the poll now. Guys, thank you for your answers. Carmelo, just to let you and the team know, we've got 31% of our audience today that is still considering a global ed, 19% that are applicants, 24% that are offer holders, 10% that are parents, and 17 of our current audience are international students already. Back to you.
Okay, so we have a great mix today in our session, and thank you very much for participating. This will help us, help me know more about your intention, so I can tailor the presentation as much as possible to you. And before we continue with the presentation, I came across this this quote from Vladimir Lenin: "There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen." I mean, Lenin said this referring to the Russian Revolution. And little did he know, a century later, the interconnectedness of the global ecosystem will produce such outcomes for us all. It is of utmost importance that we stay resilient, adapt, and remain informed so we don't leave any opportunity pass or go by. And this is why we are having this series of events to help you and clarify your doubts, and also help you make an informed decision and safe decision about your future. And as I said, I'm going to go through some good news from around the world. As Rohini mentioned earlier, I am delivering this presentation from Spain. It did catch me here. I was visiting the family, and the borders closed. As you probably have heard, Spain was severely affected by the virus, and it was some really difficult weeks and months. 2 months ago, we thought the country was falling into pieces. You could see ambulances and police and lots of drama, people really scared. A month ago, we were still trying to hold those pieces together, still scared. And now today we are in phase 1. So from phase 0, we are now in phase 1. 2 weeks ago, most of Spain moved onto phase 1, and my region, Granada, Malaga, and Madrid and Barcelona, we were still risky, and we had to wait 1 more week. But since a week ago, we are able to, this is what phase 1 means, we're able to go out, we're able to see our families, we're able to see our friends, obviously with a lot of care and with protection and with gloves and masks and the 2-meter distancing. But bars are opening with restrictions, but they are opening. People are on the streets. Shops, you can go shopping. You have to ask for an appointment to be able to try your clothes, but the shops are opening. People are starting to go back to work, and the economy is reigniting. So you can feel the vibe when you go out. So for those that the lockdown is still quite strict, bear with us a little bit. It will get better, I can guarantee you. Since from here, we wouldn't believe 1 month ago that we would be in this situation, in this positive situation right now. And other good news, so I really wanted to share this with you, so you understand that things are moving on. And another good news we want to celebrate is Maria, the oldest woman in Spain, beat coronavirus at the age of 113. She's still with us, and I hope she's still with us for many years from now. And moving up to the Netherlands, more good news and show of goodwill and spirit of the people. So in order to flooded, thousands of people went to donate blood on the joint global effort on plasma treatment for coronavirus. So thanks to all the people that came forward, and they came forward to help. So there's been plenty of examples of human kindness and collaboration across the globe, and this is beautiful to see in these dark times that we are already starting to see the light. On another note, and across the Atlantic Ocean, Twitter announced work from home forever option, which I'm sure many of you, especially those that live in cities like Delhi or Mumbai, that have to spend hours traveling every year for work back and forth, I'm sure you are hoping to be able to get some of that flexibility to you. And good news for you, there is data proving in Spanish companies that actually during during the lockdown, the productivity increased and the number of hours people worked also increased. So I'm sure many other companies will start giving this flexibility to their workers. As for me and our team, that most of the panelists, we are in international relations, so we are constantly traveling and we are used to remote working. What I miss is being able to be going to fly to India and be with my team in our office in Nehru Place, where we work a lot, but we also have a lot of fun. And talking about India, great news. For the first time in 4 decades, India's annual carbon emission fall for the first time. So there's no doubt nature is grateful for the break we are giving it. So people, let's stay positive. There's many good things coming. Let's hope that as a whole, we are responsible and we can keep up advancing into beating this virus, and we can get those borders open as soon as possible. And without further ado, I'm going to go and dive deep into our global ed updates. To begin with, exams. So on our last update, we updated on A levels and IB. That hasn't changed. So exams are still cancelled, but alternative results are being provided on a combination of both school assessments and predicted scores. So there's no changes there, but we did get some updates this week on the national and state boards. So board exams have announced this week their July, that they will have the exams, in the first 2 weeks of July. Okay, public and private universities, unfortunately, they haven't yet officially announced the date, although it's likely that it will be in July, and some private universities will have online exams and assessments. And moving on to English language exams, we all know the common language tests, IELTS, PTE, TOEFL, but a number of online tests have come to the forefront to help students goals and help students don't miss out on the opportunity this time. So universities are being extremely flexible, and also TOEFL, IELTS and PTE, due to the lockdown and the fact that the centers were closed, had to come up with their online version. And in the meantime, new players came out and penetrating the market radically, like Duolingo. Duolingo, I have it in my phone as an app that I downloaded a few years ago when I was traveling in Vietnam, and it's a language learning app that now is being accepted by governments and institutions around the globe. More institutions like government, but it's very important that you understand this is temporary. All these online assessments are accepted, and Duolingo are accepted temporarily until the crisis, and then it would be reviewed. So I'm sure you have some questions so far, so your questions so far will be addressed by our panelists today. So over to you, Tim.
Thank you, Carmelo. And again, thank you guys for joining us. We have had a few questions come in. Some of it is around what you just covered, which is the exams and about the English language test. But we also have a lot of questions around some of the other things I know you're covering later on. So let's just start off with the first question. Kalpana, if you can help us with this. My university in Australia is accepting Duolingo. Do I need to do an IELTS exam for my visa? That is one of the questions that has come in.
Okay. Hi, this is Kalpana from the International Relations team. Which country has the student specified, Rohini?
Australia. Australia.
Okay, so yes, if the university waives off the English language requirement on the ECOE, they can use it for the visa. But if the university says IELTS on the ECOE, they will have to do IELTS or PTE, if that answers the question.
That does. Thank you, Kalpana. Krishna ma'am, a quick question for you. What is the quarantine period in Canada, and do I need to be quarantined if I go right now?
Yeah, so this is Krishna from the IR team. For Canada, there is a quarantine period of 2 weeks. And at the moment, I'm sorry you can't travel, but once the international flight starts and Canada opens its borders, you can fly to Canada, but you would need to quarantine yourself for 2 weeks.
Thank
That's
you,
14 days.
Krishna ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry to cut you off there. Bindu, if you can answer this one. For how much time, for how long is the IELTS indicator results valid for? I think you're on mute as usual.
I am.
Yeah.
All English language tests are the same. They are all valid for 2 years. But as Carmelo just mentioned, all the ones that are from home, which is the indicator, the TOEFL home edition, the Duolingo, there are many of them. All of them are at the moment being accepted, but they will be reviewed once the borders open and things hopefully go back to normalcy. But otherwise, the validity is 2 years.
Thank you, Bindu. Just the last question for this particular section for you. Are universities in the UK considering alternative exams to the IELTS? I think you're on mute as well. Oh, I have to do it. I apologize. Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
go for it.
It's okay. Just from international relations as well. So yes, a number of universities are being flexible about what they're accepting. More and more are taking those home versions, and similarly to what Bindu said, they'll review that once the borders reopen, but they're being flexible in terms of accepting others. What you need to do is connect with your relationship manager to check about your individual university.
Thank you. I think, Carmelo, back to you for now. And the next set of questions we'll answer during the next question and answer session. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, everybody, for making the questions. And let's move on to our next section. Our next poll, excuse me. What is your top concern right now? So please mark the box that most match your concern. Resuming face-to-face teaching, starting online learning, post-study work permit, fees, safety as an international student. Rohini, I leave it to you.
Thank you so much, Carmelo. Thank you for all the questions that are coming in. We are assigning them to our panelists and we will answer them. While we wait for them to answer your questions, thank you for answering our poll questions. I'm going to keep this open for another 20 seconds. We just want to know what your top concern is right now. And it's, again, a very interesting mix that's coming in from our audience today. We've got a lot of people talking about resuming face-to-face teaching being one of the concerns, starting online being a concern. And those are actually very, very important things to be thinking about right now. So thank you, audience, for being honest with us. I'm going to give it another 10 seconds. Wonderful. I'm going to stop the poll now. Once again, thank you for sharing your views with us. So Carmelo and team, just to let you know, there are 38% of our audience today whose top concern is resuming face-to-face teaching. 27% worried about the post-study work permit. 4% whose top concern is the fees. 18% is safety as an international student, and 13% are still concerned about starting online learning. Back to you, Carmelo.
Excellent. Thank you, Rohini. Thank you, everybody. I am going to tackle all your concerns in our next slides. So I'll dive deep into Australian market. So Australia is starting in July online or blended. You would start for international students. So international students will start online, but excuse me, they will start online, but they will transition onto face-to-face as soon as it's possible. Okay, so in Australia, the current students that are onshore and that and the local students will start on campus in July. So as soon as the borders are open, and it looks like Australia, New Zealand will be one of the first ones to open, you will be able to join your classroom and and have the experience you expect. And in terms of language test, PTE, IELTS, TOEFL, and medium of instructions has traditionally been used, but now due to COVID, other exams are accepted, like the online versions we've mentioned before of PTE, IELTS, and TOEFL, and Duolingo. So no visas are required for starting online courses except for Le Cordon Bleu. Le Cordon Bleu is a culinary school, a very popular culinary school. Also, all universities are ruling out clear refund policies, very flexible on the refund policies. So when you are going to experience, when you start in July, your online course, you have a grace period from 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the university. Again, please contact your relationship managers to make sure that they inform you on specific universities about your refunds and your grace period of the university, of each university. But as soon as you can, the borders will be opening and you'll be able to join your course. So in terms of post-study work and stay back, great news, no impact for up to 2 modules done online offshore. Okay, so the government, I forgot to mention, the government support Australia has been giving out, and regions like Victoria, Queensland, New South Wales have announced budgets from 15 to 45 million for students impacted. They've organized free meals for students, accommodation for those students that were struggling and could not work during that time too. So they've been extremely supported, scholarships from all universities. So please, again, also for scholarship and specific, contact your relationship manager. They will guide you and they'll help you find the best solution and the scholarship for you. Okay, so moving on to New Zealand, another great market that has tackled the crisis extremely well. They are in phase 2 now, same that us, we can in Spain, they can go out and meet their families and friends. They can gather up to 10 people in the same space, and they can go shopping, even travel inland. So they've been able to control the virus very rapidly, and also bring back Kiwi citizens safely, taking care of the quarantine, making sure that they've self-quarantined for 14 days as they plan with our international students. So it would be July start, the same that Australia. Blended, as soon as you can enter, you will be able to go back into your classroom and have your face-to-face delivery and experience. Other universities are also looking into postponing the intake later on to September and November for face-to-face. Okay, and the language tests they've traditionally used PTE, IELTS, and TOEFL, and now they're also using accepting the online versions of the latter and Duolingo. In terms of government support, like Australia, New Zealand has been exceptional with their students. They've been also offering food, accommodation, and support in every possible way for onshore students and for international students too that are coming. Free healthcare has been offered to all students onshore. And also for those students that had been already there and for 12, they had worked for over 12 weeks, they were also allowed an allowance of 350 New Zealand dollars per week, which I'm sure alleviated the struggles of many. So thank you for taking care of our students. And in terms of the PSW, the post-study work and stay back, there is no real changes in the stay back, and we are waiting for clarifications on parameters involved. But up until now, there's no changes. So if there are, we will make sure that we update you. And now, United Kingdom, a very popular market for many. It's been tricky. We've been waiting for their announcement for quite a while, whereas, for instance, Canada jumped out to make announcements on how and what strategy they were going to have. The United Kingdom has been quite cautious in sharing their plans, and we're still waiting. We are in contact continuously. All the IR team and all our people are in contact with governments and universities and government bodies to make sure that we know the latest. And up until now, UK has remained silent until the beginning of June, that most universities will announce, and British Council will announce their strategy. So they are tentatively like the rest of the markets that I mentioned when I mentioned September or August or even October. It's tentatively because we do not know when we will get out of this situation. It's looking good. It's looking much better than it was a month ago, but we still have to wait. So September online blended courses. So you start online and you come as soon as you are able to get on a plane. And some universities will go move their intake from September and October to try to start face-to-face. Language test in the United Kingdom, PTE, IELTS, and TOEFL were the only accepted proficiency exams, and now they are also accepting the online versions and Duolingo. So they have been, the government has been quite flexible in terms of English exams, the submissions of documents, also scholarships being given to students. And another thing, online teaching does not require a student visa the same way than in New Zealand, the same way than in Australia, and in many cases, except the case of Le Cordon Bleu in Australia. Okay, so PSW and stay back. So the post-study work that has been so popular in the past year. So is it still going ahead? Yes, it's going ahead. However, we have to wait for further announcements on the limitations that they may have in terms of online, how long you can do online. Right, there will be some restrictions, but you can see UK are trying to be very welcoming to international students, and that is they're trying to also show that in their policy and immigration. So hopefully we will get news very soon, and I'm sure that by the 7th, the update on the 7th, our panelists today and my dear colleague Jazz will be updating you on the 7th. Hopefully we'll have some news for you, further news for you there. And moving on to Ireland. Ireland is still in lockdown. Everybody's online. Universities are working remotely. However, they're also thinking on planning on a September online blended start. So again, it says blend online there, but every time I say online, it is I mean they will start like that and online, and they will go on to face-to-face as soon as possible. Other universities are looking into delaying their intake into October, November, so they can start face-to-face. As for the language test, PT and IELTS were the official examinations, and now they're accepting the official, the online version of those, and Duolingo. And in the case of Ireland, Duolingo is also accepted for immigration and government. So refund policies for most universities. So again, flexibility around refunds. They want to make you feel safe that you will not lose your money if the virus is still here. However, news they've shared from the immigration office tell us that the visas will take minimum 8 weeks. So I truly suggest you to go and speak with your relationship manager and make sure that he informs you of or she informs you of the refund policies of your university, and you get everything ready for when the doors open. You can submit the paperwork and get your visa, and don't miss out, because that is there will be a backlog of students in every single market. So be prepared, inform yourself about your refunds. We are always there. You can connect with your RM, or you can get online, get on our website and connect with and start on board with us and register with us to connect with our RM and ask all the questions that you need for your future in education, international education. So as for the PSW and stay back, that is not impacted. There's no changes, and we will inform you if there are any changes coming. So we finished our first sections of market snapshots. So your questions so far will be taken care by our team and our panelists that I leave you with them.
Thank you, Carmelo. That was really, really insightful. Panel, if we can have you switch on your cameras, that would be helpful. We've got a lot of questions around something that Carmelo talked about, which was the PSW. Krishna ma'am, if I can start with you, what is the impact of the current online teaching going to face-to-face eventually on the PSW in Canada?
Okay, to take your question and answer it, for Canada, if 50% of the blended course is done onshore, then the PSW doesn't change at all. So, you know, if you, for instance, do a 1 year online from India, and then you go to Canada and do the second year there, that would give you a 3 years stay back option. Okay, is that clear? Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna ma'am. Kalpana, if you can answer the same for Australia and New Zealand, please.
Okay, so for Australia currently, the rule is if you study 33% online on a blended course, your PSW will not get affected. Having said that, there are, you know, the Australian government is again looking at it, and we may get more information shortly. They may extend it. And for New Zealand, you have to be onshore for 6 months, which is 30 weeks. To avail your post-study visa. So it's a good idea to start with the blended mode of education. Start online now and then move for your further studies to these countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalpana. Jas, would you like to shed some light on the UK?
Sure. So for the UK, they're saying that PSW is still going ahead. It's still in the same position, but we've been assured by the UKVI that there's no plans for any changes. It's still going ahead. There may be some limitations around how much online learning you can do offshore, but they haven't clarified that yet. We expect to find out in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be updating you and through our relationship managers when we find out more.
Thank you, Jas. Bidhu ma'am, if some bits for Ireland and the other European countries. You're on mute, Bidhu ma'am.
The one thing that we've now found that across the board, every single country, without exception, in fact, has not messed around with their stay back options. What they're trying to do is trying to be fair. So there are certain parameters and limits being set. So if you do 1 year, then you know, if you do 50% in Canada, or you do that much, you know, and otherwise the PSW is, there is no issue at all. I mean, Germany says that as long as you study at least 6 months in Germany, we'll give you your 18 months stay back. So I think people should stop being so worried about PSW. The governments and universities and countries know that students are an important part of their economy, and they're not going to mess around with it too much. So we're just waiting for the limits that they're going to set. And you know, what was in March has definitely changed now by the end of May. So I think the same question when it comes up at the end of June or early July will be pretty much the same, or with a little more clarity. So my advice to all students is, don't give up on your dreams at the moment. Hold on to them. There is life coming up in September.
Thank you, Bidhu ma'am. Just the last question before we hand it over back to Carmelo is, what is the impact of fees given that some part of the program is going to be online? Kalpana, would you like to shed some light on that?
Yeah, so most of the universities across globe have not altered the fee. The fee remains the same. What they are doing is they are offering scholarships to the students if they are qualifying for the scholarships. Or in some cases, what the universities are doing, they are allowing students to do a few weeks of the course and then pay for it. So you have that option of choosing the course, understanding whether you are really liking the online platform, and then paying for it. And some of them also have this policy that you enroll and then you study for 3 to 4 weeks. You like it, it's fabulous, you continue on the course. Otherwise, you can still ask for a refund. So please be in touch with the RMs. They will update you about the universities and how the plans are. There is a possibility that you may get a scholarship. So please be in touch with your RMs. That's.
Thank you.
Just want to, 1 second. I just want to add one thing. You know, the questions that we're getting are lovely, very answerable, very doable. But just one suggestion: when you're asking a question, can you also tell us which country that you're looking at? You know, it just makes it much easier for, instead of giving you a generic answer, to be able to be a little more specific in, you know, when we give you an answer.
Thank you, Bidhu ma'am, for that. Thank you, Kalpana. Back to you, Carmelo. Audience, you've heard our panel. If you can make sure that your questions also have the countries that you're looking at, we will be in a better place to answer them more specifically. Over to you, Carmelo.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Rohini. And we're going to our last section of the market updates. And we're going to start with USA. So in a running tally conducted by Chronicle of Higher Education, 7 out of 10 universities announced that they, or claim that they want to start construction face-to-face in September. This will be state dependent. And meaning that so online and face-to-face will be state dependent, meaning that due to the nature or the federal nature of the United States, each state will be able to well decide amongst their safety and regulation. So it depends on where your university is. We will the state will decide. So Online or hybrid learning and face-to-face will happen as soon as possible. Everybody wants it to happen, but we have to wait a little bit until states announce themselves. So PTE, IELTS are the language test preferred and accepted before COVID, and they are also now using, again, PTE, IELTS, TOEFL, and Duolingo. Rohini, there's some noise coming. There's a mic still open, and
I'm switching
so
them on.
thank you. They are accepting Duolingo. So universities have declared additional support, and they've been very supported. They are offering tons of scholarships. So again, connect with your relationship managers to find out if your university has issued any scholarships. Do not hesitate to connect with them for any question. The American USA universities are also issuing offers based on predictive scores that they would otherwise wouldn't do before. And they are also, you have to complete, you have to complete your degree before being able to travel to the country. But they are very flexible. And some universities are even giving waivers on SAT and GRE. So again, the universities are really showing how much they care, how much support they're giving in these times, in these dull times. So PSW and stay back, so post-study work, there will be no impact on OPT and CPT as long as 1 year of the program is completed onshore. So very clear guidelines here. And now we're going to go across to Germany. So I just heard your answer to the questions, and I'm going to get there too. But Germany is tentatively trying to have their face-to-face, the intake in August face-to-face. We will have to see how things evolve, but fingers crossed. They have done an excellent job controlling the virus, considering the numbers that they had at the beginning, the death toll, and the recovery. So they have proven Germany is a very safe place to be when a crisis like we live in is happening. Duolingo, TOEFL, and IELTS are the language tests accepted. And as I mentioned, Germany has taken real control of the situation, and right now they're looking into fully opening 3 of its borders on July 15. Also, the government has announced a 100 million budget to help students in need. So borders are the rest of the borders will be open in a staggered manner, country to country basis. So little by little, I hope India, considering you guys have done very well containing the virus, hopefully you will be also allowed to travel to Germany soon. Okay, and as for the PSW, the stay back or post-study work, as Bindu said, they are very flexible. Countries understand that this is a key part, a key incentive for students to go abroad, not only have the international learning experience, but also go ahead and work in the country, which in the case of Germany, you have 18 months stay back, and you only have to do 6 months in Germany to be able to avail for it. So very flexible. And moving on to Asia, Singapore, they are also tentatively hoping to open their intake face-to-face. They are their language tests are PTE, IELTS, TOEFL, and medium of instructions. Medium of instruction is also still being accepted, as well as PTE, IELTS, and Duolingo. So the government has been very supportive. I mean, given the size of the government, the support, the tremendous help and support that they've given to the students onshore and those coming. As for the stay back, there is no formal post-study work or stay back in Singapore. and the same as UAE. There are no changes in the stay back and the post-study work because there's no official stay back in UAE, but they are looking into starting on July, online or face-to-face, so blended or face-to-face, dependent on main campus announcement. And what I mean by main campus announcement is that in UAE, many universities are international campus from universities rooted in Australia and UK. So they will have to wait for the guidelines. And language tests are accepted, PTE, IELTS, TOEFL, and medium of instruction have always been accepted, and now they're also accepting the online versions, medium of instruction, and Duolingo. Okay, so UAE has done really well from the beginning, closing the borders and containing the spread of the virus. And this means that many businesses, so the lockdown is being eased and many businesses are running business as usual, many industries. So it's very feasible they will be one of the first ones to open and welcome international students. So please contact with your relationship managers, because UAE are offering tremendous scholarships, and you get the same quality and standards from big universities and very popular renowned universities in Australia and UK for a much lesser price, and it is a beautiful environment to live there. Also, visa services are expected to reopen shortly, so please contact your relationship manager if you're interested in going to UAE. And finally, our last slide, Canada. I know you were all waiting for it. So Canada starts blended in May. So international students, even if they are there, they will have to start online. Canada acted so fast. We would have liked other markets to respond in the same manner, but they've been extremely supportive with our students. And even for the May intake, the only citizens allowed to travel into Canada in the middle of in these past 2 months, in the middle of the COVID crisis, where these students were Canadian citizens, residents, and also international students, where they had to obviously quarantine themselves, but they are able to be in Canada now and start their journey. And for September intakes, their universities are hoping, or maybe they delay the intake so they can start on face-to-face if they can't before. Okay, so extremely flexible. IELTS, TOEFL were the language test accepted, and they are also using Duolingo, IELTS Indicator, and TOEFL IBP. So Canada support, government support. President Trudeau announced under the slogan "You are not alone," announced a 9 billion relief fund for the education sectors and students that are struggling during this crisis. So you clearly see how they have the arms wide open to welcoming international students. So also their applications, their visa applications are open. You can apply now, and if you get your visa approved, your study permit approved, you will also get a notification from the government telling you when and how you can travel, with instructions on when to travel. So they have the doors open for you students. Another one, besides homestay, help, food cards, etc. And they've also lifted the restrictions for study permit holders who were working in essential service. So from 20 hours, they had limited onto whatever is needed. So Thank you, President Trudeau, for taking care of all our students and being so proactive and so progressive in your views. I hope the rest of the markets also take the lead like you. And in terms of PSW and stay back, so post-study work, flexibility, before online was not accepted, and now 50%, so the PSW and stay back is not affected, nor the length of the time, as long as 50% of the course is completed onshore. Okay, so that is the end of our market updates, and now we have poll 3 and the last sessions of Q&A. So poll 3, now after this presentation, after all the updates I've shared and our team has shared with you, what are you thinking about your global ed plans? Sorry, accept and discover the world, apply and be prepared, start online, face-to-face when borders open, so blended, postpone my global ed plan, or I'm still not sure. I'll pass it on to you, Rohini.
Thank you, Carmelo. We've got 50% of our audience that have already voted on our polls, which is great to see. We'll just leave it open for another 30 seconds. Guys, thank you for your questions. As our panelists mentioned, please mention the country while asking your questions so that we can answer them accordingly. For those of you that want to reach out to a relationship manager, if in the questions panel you can tell me where you're from, I can put you in touch with them as soon as possible. Great. So we've got about 70% of our audience that has voted on our poll. I'll give it another 5 seconds. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, audience. So Carmelo, just to give you and our team a quick update on what our audience is currently thinking about their global ed plans. 7% want to accept and discover the world. 53% want to apply and be prepared. 19% want to start online, face-to-face teaching when the borders open. 19% are still unsure, and about 2% want to still postpone their plans of global ed. Back to you, Carmelo.
Thank you very much, Rohini. Thank you very much for participating, everybody. I feel for the 2% that wants to postpone their global ed. Don't let this crisis change your future. Connect with our relationship managers. Find out what kind of help and anything that you need. For those that are still not sure, contact our relationship managers. We will have an update on the 7th. And for the rest, I really hope you enjoy your international experience next year, because it will happen and we have to move on and we have to carry on. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to go on to the last sessions of Q&A sessions with the team, and I'll leave you with the panelists. Rohini, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carmelo. Panelists, if we can have you back on screen so we can ask you our last set of questions. Thank you, panel. Okay, so again, audience, thank you so much for your questions. They've been very, very insightful. We really do hope our session today has helped you. So let me just get on to the last set of questions for this evening. Everybody wants to know whether there's going to be a delay in the actual start dates of the September intake for the UK. Jas, if you can take that one.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to know that, including us. The truth is, universities are still deciding. The UK has been an extremely optimistic market. They've been really optimistic about how they've dealt with coronavirus in general. But the September start, reality is it's unlikely to start in September. What you should expect for face-to-face teaching is a delayed start. So expect those universities to be starting in October, November, around that time. They'll be announcing it. So make sure you stay connected with us and we can update you. For those that are starting online and looking to move to face-to-face later, those ones will be starting in September. So again, just connect with us, stay in touch, and we'll update you with whatever we know.
Thank you, Jas. Bindu, if you can answer the questions on will there be any changes in the scholarships that are currently being that are currently available? Because I know Kalpana said about it earlier, talked about it earlier. If you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, sure. Scholarships have always been there. They are merit-based scholarships, but the universities have increased the pot. So they're giving out more scholarships now than they ever were. They want to encourage students to come and to take off from what Jazz said, that will they start face to face? Look, universities worldwide are prepared for it. I mean, they are banking on the fact that borders will open. Even India now is saying that before August, there will be international flights. So the minute the borders start to open, the chances of face to face, so far we've been saying face to face is, a long way away, but no longer. As I said in my earlier thing as well, every month we have updates which make it more promising that the face to face will be sooner than later. Yes, we had a lot of questions on about starting online. You may have to start online, but it won't be for months and months and months. It'll probably be for weeks, and whenever you arrive there, it'll take off. So scholarships, yes. Bursaries, yes. For but you have, they're merit based, but there are a larger number of them. So yes, it is. It's a good way across the board.
Can I just add something to that, Rohini?
Please.
What you should think about is the fact that this pot does exist, but this pot will become smaller, right? If they're offering more scholarships this year, next year there'll be less available. So if you're considering that, really consider the fact that this pot is going to be even tighter, and you should take advantage of the opportunity you're getting now. As if you have a scholarship now and you defer it, that scholarship does not follow you. There's a really great statement someone said. Was it about applications? So you reapply, right? How do you say it, Bindu?
You don't defer a scholarship, you defer an application. So you have to it becomes a reapplication.
So just consider that when you're thinking about the scholarship opportunities, because that's what it is right now. It's an opportunity.
Thank you, panel. One of the other questions that has been recurring through today's webinar is, you all have talked about blended learning, and you've talked about, online and then going face to face. We have a lot of students whose concern is, how do I know what kind of online lectures I will be attending, and how long it's going to last? What is the fields of it? So if each of you could, just share your views on that one, we'd really appreciate it, me as well as the audience. Krishna ma'am, would you like to give us some insights on your views on starting our online classes and online learning?
Yes, actually, I would rather not call them only online programs. They are more of hybrid, for the US, we call them hybrid programs, or we could use the word blended programs. So what happens is, virtual classes start online, and it would be typically like a classroom session. And this would be only for a few weeks, like, Bindu just mentioned, that it would not be for months, because all universities are very positive of opening as soon as possible. So, probably you would be doing the classes for a couple of weeks, or maybe, a month, and then you go to the country, to onshore, and you carry on with the classes. So there's hardly any difference. I mean, you get all the facilities in online learning, and you could even attend, in future, TC Global is going to arrange for some of these online classes, and you could attend one of these and see how it feels. Okay.
Yeah, they're
Thank you,
master
Krishna.
classes, and Rini, just let me add to that. The master classes are a great way of finding out, of how these classes are run. These are sample classes run by real professors. So, it gives you just and in different subjects. So you don't have to get stuck with a technical one, if you're going to do management. So do connect with us. Look at our website. They're up on that, and see which one you want to. And look, they're all free. It's just your time that that you will spend on it.
Investing time on an online free class sounds like a plan to me. Kalpana, would you like to shed some light as well?
Yeah, I would really go with that. Talk to your RMs and find out more about these online classes or master classes, as we call them. In fact, I attended a couple, and trust me, these are real-time classes where you do projects with people across the globe. I was doing a project with some students from US, somebody was from Australia, somebody was from Ireland. So I felt like I was in a proper class. We were doing a project, an assignment where everybody was inputting, and it seemed to be real. It was really a mix where everybody was talking. And understand, if we go for these blended mode or hybrid classes, you are going to have that network built now. And when you arrive on shore, it is going to help you because you already have those friends. You are part of that community. The other advantage of starting in these blended or hybrid mode classes is that when visas start opening up, all the high commissions and consulates and everybody starts granting visas, they may look at a priority for people who are already on these blended classes. And you may get your visas much faster than anybody else. So I would say it's a good idea to start with an online class.
Jas, would you also like to add something?
I think most of the team have covered everything. I mean, really great points around just having a taster. Those master classes, we'll be having some during our GEI, so you can be experiencing them then. But the reality is, yeah, Kalpana is right. Starting online shows for visa purposes that your true intention is to learn. The concern is that you don't get the same quality of learning. But the reality is you can't get a degree from a university without them having had their degree checked. So there's all these regulatory bodies that have checked the quality of the program they're offering. They're not changing anything in terms of the quality. And they'll really focus on making sure it's an interactive experience. They'll focus on making sure you get those networking opportunities. You can do things like have study groups with a much wider global audience like Kalpana is talking about. So what you should do is not think about, oh, what I'm losing, but actually the opportunities you're gaining. If you think about what you're doing now, probably today at some point you're on social media, connecting with somebody nowhere near you. This is the same thing with the online learning experience. And it's not for your whole program, but utilize it for the beginning of it to make sure that you get more wealth and depth in what you're actually getting.
Thanks, Jas. Kalpana, if I can just ask you a follow-up question. We've got a couple of audience members while you were talking that had asked, saying that, you mentioned that you were on a project group with people from different parts of the globe. So how does the timing factor work during an online class?
So the one I was part of, it was late evening. It was around at 7 o'clock in the evening. So we had people from Australia, we had people from US. For US, it was early morning. For Australia, it was late evening. So everybody kind of were working in their time zones. And also, if there were people who could not attend, we left messages for them and they left messages for us. And that ways we could collaboratively kind of work. Also, there are these blackboards and places where you can kind of say, okay, I'm working on this part, you start on the other one. So it was a kind of collaborative learning where you kind of were reaching to each other in their own time zones. And certain lectures were recorded, so I could do it whenever I liked. So it was a blend.
Thank you, Kalpana. It's just like us having Carmelo sitting in Spain and us doing this at 6 o'clock in the evening here. Thank you, panel, for answering all the questions. It's been very, very insightful. Sure?
I just, yeah.
One second, just to add to what Kalpana said, really think about the fact that there's this concept of global timing, right? So universities are trying to make sure that it's optimum time.
Yeah.
But she mentioned again about the resources. So there'll be a lot of self-access. So you'll be able to control how your learning goes. And university has been considering that. And I think that's a really great point that she's made. Don't just think it is all these live classes. They'll be giving you other things like podcasts, access to lecture recordings, access to other activities to make sure it's engaging as well.
Thank you,
I also
Binamai.
want to add, just at the end, I just have to say one thing. You know, we're so worried about online classes and money, and the only thing we should really worry about in making a decision is safety. If it is safe to do it, if it is safe to travel, if the university infrastructure is safe for students to come on board, that should be our first and, you know, the highest priority. Because if we're safe, then it's okay. The rest of it will fall into place. It's a learning for everybody. Where one has to understand that for the universities, it's never happened before. They've had to come up with the solutions. For us, it's never happened before, that we have to talk to students, and we're learning every day. So when you ask us for a very definitive you know, an answer on when, I got one which said, when is the UK High Commission opening? You know, if I could answer those kind of things, I'd be a pretty wealthy woman, I think. So let's look at it, you know, realistically. Updates all the time. Look at tcglobal.com. We are putting up updates. Connect with your RMs. They are in the loop at all times, and we are trying to do this this webinar with the impact every 2-3 weeks. As soon as we get major, you know, and we are going to keep doing it, because at the end of the day, life is not about being stagnant, no? It's not static. Let's just move forward.
Adil, anything else before I hand it over to Carmelo?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, panel. It's been very helpful to have you here. Carmelo, back to you.
Thank you, Rohini. Thank you, panelists. Thank you for being so wonderful and being here on a Sunday with me. Thank you very much. So stay connected, people. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Logging to our website. Make sure that you keep in touch with your RM. There's also, we have a section on insights with hundreds of articles related to global ed and updates and news. Super interesting. And some pieces from universities and some pieces from our teams. And please keep track of the virtual events that we are running and all our webinars. And with that in mind, before I leave you today to continue with your evening, your Sunday evening, we have next week on the 31st of May. I will also be a panelist on this one, choosing a mindset for happiness with Rongmak Lucky. So this is going to be a wonderful session. The coffee hour with Q&As with alumni and current students. For students that want to study in Australia or in New Zealand, this session will be very helpful, also because you will hear from the students there, not from us, not from the universities, but from the students that are already there, and they can share their support and how they're experiencing their lives there, and also alumni that had been there before. And our next COVID update and its impact on global ed will be delivered by Jaspreet Hani, that was our panelist today, and we hope to have new updates for you. Thank you. Oh, and the world of work on the 6th of June. Okay, so please be connected, be in touch, be safe, and see you soon. Thank you very much, everybody, and hope you the best for your future in international education. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmelo. Thank you, audience. For those of you who are celebrating Eid tomorrow, Eid Mubarak to you guys. And as we say at TC Global, stay safe and speak soon.
Thank you.